Well, hello there all you marvelous people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, the channel where I get to do two of my four favorite things in the world, play games and talk about nature. Now we are back in Terra Nil, and yes, I know I did promise that we'll be doing the Hunter Call of the Wild, but unfortunately I have had no internet for quite a while now, and I am therefore playing something that does not require internet connection to play properly. Now, we are going to continue on in a little restoration journey, and we are going to go to the poles of this planet, and we're going to go into the volcanic glacier. And for this one we are going to have to start by getting some geothermal energy. We're going to need some magma so that we can get things rolling here. Now we've got all these fissures over here, or geysers, ready to explode. Now we are going to use some seismic detonators to do that. So, let's get cracking. The best I think to do is actually to start right at the top here, so that we can have some of the magma also flowing down. Well, magma coming out and lava flowing, of course. Of course, while magma is underground, it is called magma, and as it comes to the surface, it is then of course called lava, as it is flowing across here. So we've got a lava flow happening. And as the lava flows here, it is going to unpollute a whole bunch of little tiles. Now, unfortunately, technically what that means is a lot of the pollutants will now become airborne, so it's possibly going to spread all over the place, but we're going to just ignore that fact and carry on with business as usual. And we're going to put up a nice little geothermal plant here, one of the many sustainable power supplies that one can use, and more eco-friendly than things like coal-powered plants and stuff like that, because the magma is already here, the heat is already here. All we need now is some kind of way of getting that to provide us with power. And we're going to, of course, now just quickly do some bioremediation over here, where we are turning this wasteland environment into a less toxic environment. And there we go, the first bit of greenery is now on the map, and we're just going to repeat this process a little bit. But now we have run into a bit of a problem. Our power plant can provide us with electricity all the way to here, but if I put a toxin scrubber here, we are losing out on this bit. It is under the permafrost. It's called polluted snow, but technically this is permafrost. We are going to have to get this to melt. Now, normally I am all against permafrost melting, but unfortunately in this game we are going to have to do that so that we can continue cleaning this environment. And so we are putting up some solar amplifiers, which are going to take the sun's rays and use that to heat up the surrounding snow over here and melt it, so that we can now at least go and use some bioremediation in this area. And now that we've done that, of course, we can irrigate it, and that should give us another bit of greenery.
A few moments later.
Alright, now we have actually increased the temperature to such an extent that we are now above freezing point, or getting close to above freezing point, and the snow has now melted, opening up a whole bunch of areas, and meaning that we do not have to go and place any more of these solar amplifiers. So that's going to save a bit of green credit for us, so we can just put down our little detoxifiers over here after these areas have also melted. And now of course we just carry on irrigating the area. We're 2/3 of the way done, which is marvelous. Alright, this should do it. Yes, there we go. We have cleared enough areas, and now we get to bring in the plants as always. Now, the most challenging thing about this map is actually not running out of green credits here, because goodness gracious me, it is so easy to start running out of your credits at the top here. So we've done quite alright. Now, however, we need to bring in a whole bunch of plants, and we need to bring in tundra, boreal forest, kelp forest, and lichen. So let's start with the tundra, because the tundra needs cooler conditions to be ideal, and we are going to be doing that. So highlands, that's what we require, and an irrigator. And so we can take an irrigator like the one at the top here, and we can use it to reseed some tundra. Now the tundra over here would be dominated by things like all these wildflowers that you can see here. They survive the harsh environment during winter as seeds. So when the snow comes, these plants will either die completely, or their above ground parts will die back, and then they will be able to either survive as seeds in the ground or they will be able to resprout when warmer conditions come around again. And we are witnessing this magnificent display of tundra flowers up at the moment. This is very similar but also very different from the fynbos that we had previously in the game, where it's also dominated by shrubs, in this case very, very short shrubs, more actually ephemeral plants, or plants that die back, therophytes basically, that survive as seeds. Nevertheless, we've got a very nice landscape of tundra at the top here, but now we need to burn it, and we're going to burn it so that we can place the arboreta over here. So let's have a look here. First things first, we are going to increase the humidity, and that's relatively easy. All we need to do is place a whole bunch of these cloud seeders, as always, taking a lot of the moisture from the ocean in this case and putting it into the atmosphere, thereby increasing the humidity. Now, we did just have 2 of our little optional goals here being accomplished. We now will have moss on boulders, and we can see that, and I'll have a look at that in a moment. And then we'll have fungi in forest. Now, we don't have the forest yet, so we can't see the fungi, but look at the moss growing over here. Moss really being present at the start of succession. Moss and lichens will be growing on the rocks, eventually forming a nice little environment where dirt gets trapped, and then as they grow there and they have dirt being trapped amongst them, you'll have seeds of other plants blowing into them and actually starting to grow there. And in that way then they half, not really kickstart, but they help succession to take place. So that is quite awesome. Unfortunately, if we wanted to place more tundra, we can't, because it is now too humid for the tundra plants to actually survive, and that is potentially a bit of a problem. So what we are going to have to do now is not burn the tundra too much, because if it does burnt, we will be stuck with a bit of a problem. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use our solar amplifier to just burn this bottom part of the map over here. It is going to burn from this tundra over here, because the tundra here would be flammable, very similar to fynbos, and as the fire starts here, it's going to burn this entire lower lying area and burn all the buildings that we have here as well. And that is actually, it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make, because what's going to happen is it's going to allow us to build this arboretum on the ashes of our destroyed buildings. Now our butterflies will now also come back, because we've got low enough toxin levels and it is warm enough, so there should be some butterflies flying around. Not sure, there we go, in the tundra, not in the grasslands but in the tundra, because the tundra here has a whole bunch of flowers, and as a result we have a whole bunch of different species. There's a swallowtail, for example, flying around. There's some nice blue ones here as well. Oh my goodness gracious me, it's such a nice variety of butterflies. Butterflies are really, really important to have in the system here. They're going to be extremely important pollinators, and at the same time their larvae will very often target specific plants. You need those host plants to be present in order for the butterflies to actually survive in the area. And so those caterpillars of the butterflies will also eat the host plant and to some extent prevent those host plants from really dominating the landscape. It's going to be useful to prevent them from outcompeting other plant species in essence. But we're going to just do some things here, and what we're going to be doing is planting a whole bunch of boreal forest. And the forest part, of course, referring to the fact that we have got a whole bunch of trees here, and boreal referring to the fact that it is in the closer to the poles, or North Pole to be exact. We don't really have any forest near the South Pole, I'm afraid. So boreal forest here, proper northern forest, mostly dominated by pine trees or coniferous species, which, as you can see here, snow can land on the branches, but because of the fine leaves, it doesn't accumulate as much snow as broadleaf plants would. So a lot of the snow will fall to the ground, thereby reducing the risk of the trees actually losing their branches, or their branches snapping under the weight of the snow. So this is quite cool. And so now we have 2 different biomes, well, technically 3 different biomes present. We've got our meadows, typical grasslands over here, we've got our tundra dominated by wildflowers, and we've got some forests over here where we finally have some larger plants, some trees also present in this landscape. Now the most important thing to do now is to try and get snowfall to start, and this may be a little bit challenging. We need the temperatures to go low, and we need the toxicity to also be quite low. We need less than 20% toxicity, and well, I am honestly not 100% sure how we are going to do that. And the only thing I can think of is to try and get some lava over to this side, and the way we are doing that is by putting up some of these excavators over here and getting them to fire so that we have some lava flowing from this area over here over to this area, and hopefully it will get close enough that we can actually put up a thermal plant over here. Okay, looks like yes, we are able to indeed. Okay, and with this having been done, we can detoxify this area as well. The pelagic fish will come back. Oh, wonderful. So now we'll have some fish swimming around in the oceans. There we go. Those would most likely be things like cod, Atlantic cod, for example. They would be maybe haddock and a whole variety of oceanic fish finally coming back here because the toxicity level's low enough. Okay, and doing this one more time to try and get some lava to flow more in this direction. And it is close enough. Great stuff. We'll be able to put one up here as well. Detoxify this part of the ocean as well. Detoxify this area which we had just toxified. And now, at least we are under the requirement for toxicity, and we are above the humidity. Now we just need to get it to be a little bit colder. And the way we're going to do that is by using the flash freezer. And that's going to just lower the temperature just enough that we can go down to -5 degrees. And if we do that, we'll have snowfalls. Oh, we've got icebergs forming. That's marvelous. There we go. There are the icebergs. These little ice flows here will be a nice habitat for a variety of creatures. If one had penguins and polar bears and stuff like that in here, they would be all over this, and walrus and all those types of things. Now we are going to just freeze this bit over here, and there we go. The snow is falling. And now suddenly this entire area will be, to some extent at least, rehabilitated. All the toxins removed, all those types of things. And at the same time, all the lava has actually turned into rock. The lava has solidified. We now have rocks, and now we can have lichens coming into this area, into this landscape. And we are going to be focusing on the 2 algae-dominated biomes in the next episode, as we now have the aurora coming through as well. So at this point, thank you very much for joining us on a little adventure over here, everybody. Nick and I will be back on Sunday, of course, with another live stream in Grounded, if we have got internet, of course, as well. Hopefully we will have, and if we do, then, of course, we will be back with you then. So until next time, everybody, stay safe. We'll see you all soon. Bye.